Well, after yesterday, that threat of severe weather here on this Wednesday afternoon still very much in play. The latest updates not really eliminating any of those threats, but giving us a little bit more definition on exactly where we're most likely to see some of that severe weather picking up as we head deeper into the afternoon and evening hours. But before we get into that, when we talk severe thunderstorms, what exactly are we looking at? Well, let's break it down for you point by point. There's one of three elements. All you need is one of these, and it becomes a severe thunderstorm. You can either have wind speeds 58 miles per hour or stronger, hail at least 1 inch in diameter, that's about the size of a quarter, or simply a tornado. A tornado immediately makes a severe thunderstorm. Now, we do actually have a chance for those strong winds, that large hail, and I'm not going to completely rule out that tornado chance, though that is far more restrictive. We'll get into each one of these one by one, lay it out for you. This, though, looks exactly the same as what we saw yesterday. The Storm Prediction Center's severe weather risk still very much highlighting us here along the I-5 corridor. That yellow color, the slight category, might only be the second to the lowest category, marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, and high. However, for us here in Western Oregon, this is about as bad as it gets. We typically don't see much more than that slight risk. But what this means for us specifically, this is about that hail risk, where we could see that larger hail, an inch in diameter or larger. That is the most likely outcome from some of these thunderstorms that could reach severe levels here this afternoon. Let's go ahead and lay out the timing here. We're looking at all of this picking up between about 4 and 6 p.m. Initially, it was looking to come in a little bit earlier, but now it's starting to stretch a bit later into the afternoon. But where we're seeing all of this originating essentially to the east of the I-5 corridor, stretching up into Lynn County especially, these are the areas where we're most likely to see that hail developing. Again, it only has to reach that 1 inch diameter, but there's a good chance we could see even larger hail, especially further to the north. Let me take you up to where this is really going to be a hotbed of activity, up into the Columbia River Gorge towards this evening and into southern Washington as we move deeper into the day. This is where we could actually see that hail size getting up to around 1.5 inches, possibly 1 3/4 inches, even potential for 2-inch hail. Now, how big is that? Well, again, we go from that quarter size, the low end of the severe weather threshold, up to around ping pong ball or golf ball sized hail. Now, that looks much more likely further to the north. Certainly a rare occurrence. I mean, for us here in Western Oregon, an incredibly rare occurrence. We never really see those larger sizes of hail, but we have all the ingredients lining up just right for this to turn into a severe hail event moving forward. But again, the greatest risk likely going to come further to the north. Now, all of this is going to really start to pick up as we head into the afternoon. Again, between around 3 and 5 p.m. is where we start to see this beginning, but really intensifying between about 5 and 6 p.m. That's when we get these storms lining up for us just off to the east and starting to expand further and further to the north. Primarily a south to north movement here. This isn't coming in off the coast. Instead, we're going to get these individual storm cells developing and shifting off to the north through the rest of this evening. Ultimately, here in Eugene, in Springfield, there's a chance we may not see any of these stronger storms. Instead, more just some garden variety rainfall later on this evening, and that's likely going to be the case for us further south down towards Roseburg. The south coast really not looking at much in the way of severe thunderstorm risk here moving forward. Again, look at exactly where this cuts through. This leaves out the entirety of Coos County, where we're expecting that chance for thunderstorms, but not severe weather. Once you get into the dark green, that's the severe weather risk. But what's the difference between the yellow and the green? Well, this dark green color, the marginal risk area, really being issued because of strong wind gusts. Now, this right here, sustained winds, and this isn't really telling the whole story, but still, we're expecting these to pick up in a big way into the teens and 20s on the coast towards this afternoon, double digits here in the valleys. More impressively is going to be the isolated thunderstorms that give us very strong wind gusts. That could easily get up to around 40 to 50 miles per hour, if not even stronger still. Do we hit that 58 mile per hour threshold? That is very much a possibility, but this is going to be the more widespread issue, and realistically, not just today. We're still seeing these strong winds lingering tonight into tomorrow morning, still looking at actually the strongest of these winds on the coast heading our way by tomorrow afternoon. So this is going to be a multi-day event when it comes to those stronger winds, but the thunderstorms, the severe thunderstorm risk, really just highlighting here today, this afternoon into the early evening. The winds and the hail are the biggest risks. And again, most likely this is going to pick up for us east of the I-5 corridor when it comes to those severe thunderstorms into parts of Lane County, Lynn County. The biggest risk, though, further north, not just the winds and the hail. That's actually the spot where we could see an isolated tornado trying to develop. Now, when we're talking about that, we're not seeing that risk really on a widespread basis. This is not a major tornadic event by any stretch, but if we are going to see an isolated tornado, likely going to be towards the Columbia River Gorge. That's the area to watch for, where we get all of those ingredients lining up just right, that we get that rotation into these storms as well, and that's how you get those isolated smaller tornadoes. We're not expecting this to be a major outbreak by any stretch, but the idea here is that we have all of the ingredients for this to turn into a severe weather event through this evening. And I do think this is going to be much stronger once you get up towards the Oregon and Washington border. So keep an eye on that. If you have any travel plans towards this evening, we either want to make sure that you get that out of the way here before these storms start, or maybe just postpone any of those travel plans until tomorrow when we start to see that severe weather risk dropping off. Either way, we will continue to track this closely, bring you the very latest both on air and online. Be sure to stick with us in today's active weather event and keep an eye on the skies out there. We'll make sure to keep you informed all day long.